Welcome to the Transforming Assessment webinar series. This session will be looking at assessment of game-based learning. Our presenter today is Dr. Nicola Whitton from Manchester Metropolitan University in the UK. This session was recorded on the 27th of October 2010 at around 5:30 in the afternoon Adelaide time. Today's session will be emceed by Alan Carrington from the University of Adelaide, Australia. I will now hand you over to Alan, who will introduce our presenter.
Hey, with us today is Dr. Nicola Whitton, and she's from Manchester Metropolitan University. Nick, I'm going to let you tell everybody all about it, and I'll transfer across to your slides while you do so, okay?
Okay, brilliant. Well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for coming to this session today. I was about to say it's so early in the morning, but I'm guessing that that's only early in the morning for me, so late in the afternoon for everybody. My name is Nicola Whitton, and I'm a research fellow at Manchester Metropolitan University, and I'm also co-director of the Create Research Group, which focuses on investigating digital cultures, emerging technology, and educational change. So that should give you a little bit of an idea of sort of about where my academic background comes from. I originally worked in information technology and human-computer interaction, but became really interested in the potential of technology and in particular games, and that's really partly because I could see that there was quite a lot of pedagogic potential in games, and partly because I really like playing games for learning. My doctorate was in the potential of educational games in higher education, which was a mix of looking at motivation and engagement and theorizing how they could be comprised and what sort of sense that made in terms of learning. But it also had elements of learning design, game design, and interface design. So I really see myself as quite multidisciplinary. I really find game-based learning fascinating, both in terms of its potential, its barriers, and again, because it gives me a chance just to sit at work and play computer games and call it work. It's brilliant. So what I'm going to talk about today is game-based learning and assessment. And I really believe that assessment of game-based learning provides another set of opportunities and challenges. As I say, I'm going to focus on that today. And I'm really hoping that this can be an interactive session, so it's not just about me talking for an hour. So please feel free to jump in, either with the hand raising and voice, or with just shouting out a question, and I'll do my best to answer the questions and to keep an eye on what's going on, unless there's any really difficult ones, in which case I'll just strategically ignore them. But I'm hoping it can be really much more of a conversation than a presentation. So hello everybody, I'm going to make a start now.
Yeah, guys, put your hands up if you really want to ask the question with your voice, and I'll be interrupting if I need it.
Okay, I'm just trying to work out here. Is everybody else hearing me okay?
Yeah, could you put your hand up, or rather tick yes, tick the little check mark if you're hearing okay. I should have. Is everybody okay on the hearing? Check marks. Yeah, I'm getting that good. Yeah, it looks like it's okay. Go for it, Nick.
Okay, I'm just waiting. My slides have updated. Fantastic. Okay, so just a brief overview of what I'm going to cover in today's presentation. So first, I'm going to talk a bit about games and learning, and looking at what I mean by games-based learning, the rationale for using games, and some examples of the different ways in which games can be used in teaching. Now, I do realise that there was a very similarly titled presentation a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not sure how many of you went to that one. And I may be covering a bit of the same ground, but equally I'm going to assume that not everybody who's here today was at the presentation a couple of weeks ago, and that I think I probably have a different take on some areas anyway. So then I'm going to talk about games-based learning and assessment, and exactly what I mean by games-based learning and assessment, looking at the drawbacks as well as the benefits, before moving on to give some examples of how you might design game-based learning and assessment. And finally, it says 4 case studies there, but actually I've only got 3 for reasons of time, and that show different ways in which games can be assessed and how game-based learning can be implemented. Also, because I'm not terribly familiar with this system, a couple of times I've just forgotten to put my finger on the control key. So if I go a long time without speaking, I probably am speaking, but I'm just speaking to myself. So
Don't
let me
forget
know.
to lock it, Nick. You can lock it into the options as we talked about that, if that would help.
Okay.
Lock
This
it
means
open.
that if you hear, yeah, I've locked it open, but it means if you hear any spurious noises in the background or children screaming, I can only apologise for that in advance. So to start, what do I mean by game-based learning? Now, I know some of you might have seen a talk a couple of weeks ago that looked at game-based learning, but I thought a good way to approach this was by taking some of the common conceptions of game-based learning and on people's stereotypes of what it means, and looking at where they fit into the wider field. So I'm going to make you all do some work. Bit of a question. When you hear the word game-based learning, what image do you conjure up? Now I'd like you to text me a few words. What do you see in the next minute or so? So got simulations, yep. Anything else? Cool, interactive and fun, yep, I'm liking that. Play, yep. Yep, the idea of kids and engagement, yep. It's an interesting one, yep, at your own pace. Although, again, a lot of games will force the pace on you. Play, yep. Oh, yep, definitely, creativity. Okay, I'm interested in what you're coming up with. And ipsative, do you know, I don't know what that means, so I'm going to have to hold my hand up and ask for it's a word I've come across, but no, I couldn't define it. First year barriers, I presume that's talking about higher education, but the reason that I kind of asked you about that is because a lot of times when you're talking about game-based learning, it's quite interesting that the stereotypes that come up have come up, but you've also got quite a lot of other ideas in there. Thank you, Amanda. I will remember that for future reference. But there's basically two common views of game-based learning that come up. One being of kind of this idea of immersive simulations in really high-end graphical virtual worlds, tending to be aimed at training. An example of this would be America's Army, which is very famous, used throughout the US as a training and recruitment game. The other view tends to be that of kind of keeping kids engaged using sort of possibly lower level edutainment type games, using the game often as a mechanic, as a motivator to undertake learning tasks. Now, games-based learning is both of these, but it is a lot more as well. Now I'm just waiting. My next slide has come up. So I wanted to approach the what is game-based learning, and obviously you all kind of know what it is, from the point of, well, what's it not limited to? Because I think when we talk about the field of game-based learning, often people come with very limited ideas of what it could be, and it's a lot more. So first, it's not simply about playing games. There's lots of examples of using games as part of the learning process, but not about learning content through the game. So, for example, using games as a stimulus for learning, perhaps for creative writing or for discussion or for making points that you then want to use in another context of learning. There's also using it for a reward for learning. Now, I'm not saying that's particularly good pedagogy, but it's something that has been used, and it is part of the wider field. It also encompasses situations where learners create their own games or modify existing games, which kind of adds this additional dimension of creativity beyond simple gameplay. And I think also game-based learning takes in the ways in which educators can learn from game design. So there's been a lot written about the use of scaffolding, the use of rewards, competition, and elements that enhance engagement that are used in games, and how these might be applied and transferred to learning and teaching. So it's about more than just playing games. It also does not need to be these high-end, graphically rich, and also usually really expensive gaming simulations.